Daniel Harper looked like a man who helped broken families, but behind his calm smile was a secret no one on Maple Street could imagine. Laura Harper trusted her husband, never knowing that danger might be sitting across from her at the dinner table, and Ethan Harper, their quiet teenage son, was watching everything. On the night Laura died, 3 members of one family were inside that pale blue house. By the time the truth began to surface, 2 of them would be dead, and the question that terrified the town was simple: how many killers can live under one roof? Maple Street was a quiet suburban road, where children played until sunset and neighbors trusted one another. At the end of the street stood a pale blue house with white shutters, neatly trimmed bushes, and a narrow pathway leading to a small porch. From the outside, the Harper family seemed ordinary, perhaps even enviable. Daniel Harper, a respected school counselor, was admired in the community for his calm demeanor and thoughtful guidance. Parents trusted him with their children, and students often confided in him, seeing him as a safe, reassuring figure. His wife, Laura Harper, worked at the local library and was known for her quiet kindness, helping organize reading programs and charity events. Their teenage son, Ethan, was intelligent but unusually observant, often quiet, rarely smiling, and seeming older than his years. On the surface, the Harpers embodied the ideal suburban family. But the perfect image shattered one cold autumn evening when police cars pulled up the street. Laura Harper was found dead in the kitchen, her body slumped in a position that suggested no struggle, no forced entry, and no theft. The crime scene felt deliberate, almost staged, and left investigators with more questions than answers. The neighbors were stunned, whispering behind closed doors, unable to reconcile the tranquil life they had seen with the violence that had occurred inside that pale blue house. As flashing lights reflected on windows and streets, the quiet suburban neighborhood was thrown into fear and uncertainty. Investigators quickly learned that Laura had recently increased her life insurance policy, naming Daniel as the sole beneficiary. While this raised suspicions, no direct evidence tied him to her death. As detectives probed deeper, they discovered old files about Daniel's younger sister, Melissa Harper, who had died 2 years earlier. Her death had been ruled accidental after falling down basement stairs, but photographs from the scene revealed bruises that did not match a simple fall. At the time, no one questioned Daniel, and now, with Laura's death, the case was reopened, and the detectives began to wonder if Melissa's death had been staged. The quiet, seemingly perfect house on Maple Street was no longer what it seemed. Shadows of hidden motives, long-buried secrets, and untold family tensions began to emerge. Each new piece of information painted a darker picture of the Harper family than anyone in the neighborhood could have imagined. Ethan Harper's behavior soon drew attention. The teenage boy, previously quiet and reserved, began skipping school and spending long hours online, researching crime investigations, surveillance, and forensic techniques. He avoided conversations about his mother, and his distant gaze suggested he was absorbing far more than anyone suspected. Hidden cameras were later discovered in his room, suggesting he had been observing the household for months. At first, detectives assumed he was coping with grief, but the depth of his planning and his meticulous records suggested something far more deliberate. The once seemingly innocent teenager appeared to be silently documenting events, carefully watching both parents, and perhaps even predicting what might happen next. Weeks after Laura's death, Daniel Harper was discovered dead in his car at the outskirts of town, the vehicle engulfed in flames. Investigators initially suspected suicide, believing the stress of losing his wife had pushed him over the edge. However, forensic evidence revealed he had been unconscious before the fire started. The scene was no accident, and suddenly the investigation shifted from a single murder to a far more complex question: if Daniel killed Laura, who killed Daniel? Rumors spread that Ethan might have acted out of revenge, or that a hidden figure, perhaps Melissa, had returned to seek vengeance. The once tranquil Harper family was now the epicenter of fear, speculation, and a rapidly growing investigation. In Ethan's room, investigators discovered a small, concealed metal box. Inside were newspaper clippings about Laura's death, old articles about Melissa's mysterious accident, and detailed handwritten notes outlining police movements, inconsistencies in witness statements, and potential weaknesses in prior investigations. A flash drive revealed private recordings taken from hidden cameras placed throughout the Harper home. These recordings showed tense confrontations between family members, fearful expressions, and subtle hints of coercion and intimidation. Ethan's careful observation and detailed notes suggested he was fully aware of the dangerous dynamics unfolding around him. Investigators began to suspect that the Harper family might harbor not just one killer, but possibly 2, hidden behind the facade of normalcy. DNA evidence from Laura's fingernails revealed a shocking truth. Traces of Melissa Harper, the sister who had been declared dead 2 years earlier, were present. A further investigation uncovered that Melissa had staged her own death to escape debts and legal trouble, and she had been living in secret nearby. Melissa's return indicated that Laura's death was likely premeditated, carried out by someone who had previously vanished without a trace. The revelation turned the investigation upside down, exposing a family drama more twisted than anyone could have imagined. Ethan's recordings provided further insight. He had tracked Melissa's movements and recognized the threat she posed to both himself and his mother. His intelligence and attention to detail allowed him to anticipate potential attacks and understand the motives of the adults around him. It became clear that he had been acting not out of malice but out of fear for his life. The teenage boy had transitioned from passive observer to an active participant, determined to prevent further harm by anyone in the household. His methodical actions revealed a level of cunning and maturity that unnerved investigators and blurred the lines between victim and perpetrator. The night Daniel Harper died was the culmination of Ethan's careful planning. Evidence suggested he had drugged his father before setting the car on fire, creating the appearance of suicide while removing the immediate threat posed by Daniel. Melissa, however, vanished once more before authorities could apprehend her. The house, once a symbol of suburban tranquility, had become a stage for manipulation, fear, and calculated violence. The neighborhood's perception of safety was shattered, and the Harper home became infamous as a place where appearances hid deadly secrets. After Ethan's arrest, investigators pieced together the sequence of events using hidden camera footage, forensic data, and witness statements. The picture that emerged was complex. Melissa killed Laura to settle financial and personal disputes, Daniel attempted to cover up his sister's involvement, and Ethan intervened to prevent further killings, ultimately killing his father in the process. The layers of deception and violence highlighted a shocking truth: the deadliest threats can sometimes come from those closest to us.